roughly a dozen dealerships shown in the man's Instagram videos and found only 2 that had called police. If you think you're about to sell a car, you may not say what you would normally say to someone that's driving that way, Matt Ducote, the general manager at Moritz Kia near Fort Worth, told the TV station. There are other people's lives at risk. It's just an unsafe situation when someone is driving recklessly like that. Dozens of videos filmed behind the wheel of Ferraris, Porsches, Chevrolet Corvettes and Dodge Hellcats are posted on an Instagram account belonging to Almer Saeed. In many, the salesperson can be heard urging the driver to slow down, pull over, or return to the dealership. One video shows an Audi topping 130 miles per hour. It then cuts to the salesman vomiting onto the pavement. Dealer Brandon Tomes told CBS News Texas that the man test drove cars at 2 of his dealerships. Tomes Auto Group salesperson Edgar Lopez said he rode along on a drive that ended up lasting nearly 2.5 hours and reached 160 miles per hour, despite his pleas to stop and go back. In this episode of the Ally All Ears podcast, Aaron Lee, Senior Director at Ally Dealership Insurance, discusses the growing threat of cyberattacks on dealerships and the importance of staying vigilant. He shares essential tips for safeguarding against these risks and highlights the need for specialized cyber insurance coverage to protect your business. I started to get very concerned, Lopez said. Because any time I would tell him to get off the road or anything like that, he would just ignore me. Saeed didn't respond to emails from CBS News Texas but posted a new video addressing questions about legal issues. He doesn't admit to being the driver but says the cars shown in his videos are completely fine with no provable damage. Tomes said he's more concerned with the danger that salespeople and other people on the road are being subjected to for social media views. Anybody that would take pleasure in that kind of torture, if you will, he said, is just a terrible human. Title: Europe sales drop as economic uncertainty weighs on buyers. Content: European car sales declined the most in 5 months in February as uncertainty about the economy prompted consumers to hold back on bigger purchases. New car registrations fell 3.1% from a year earlier in the EU, EFTA and UK markets to 963,540, the ACEA industry body said March 25. Spain was the only major market in the region to see a rise in sales, which included a 61% jump in electric vehicle registrations. The overall drop was driven by a 24% decline in purchases of gasoline-powered vehicles and a 28% decrease in those with diesel engines. Full electric and plug-in hybrid electric cars gained. Europe's automakers are facing another tough year in their home market as a prolonged downturn in the region's biggest economies weighs on consumer confidence. At the same time, the threat of U.S. tariffs and intense competition from Chinese automakers led by BYD are adding to the pressure. In this episode of the Ally All Ears podcast, Aaron Lee, Senior Director at Ally Dealership Insurance, discusses the growing threat of cyberattacks on dealerships and the importance of staying vigilant. He shares essential tips for safeguarding against these risks and highlights the need for specialized cyber insurance coverage to protect your business. EVs offered a bright spot across the region, with sales rising 26% as automakers promoted them to comply with tighter emissions regulations. That growth did not extend to Tesla, whose registrations plunged 40% in the region as consumers continued to sour on CEO Elon Musk's politics and support of the right-wing Alternative for Germany party. Automakers are trying to win over customers with cheaper battery electric vehicles, including Renault's €25,000, $26,990, R5 E-Tech and Stellantis's €23,300 Citroën EC3 city car. They are competing with offerings from Chinese manufacturers pushing into the region, including BYD, NIO, and XPeng. Volkswagen Group, Europe's biggest automaker, expects to maintain profitability this year, but is exposed to planned U.S. tariffs on Mexico and Canada, as is Stellantis. Mercedes-Benz and BMW expect margins to shrink due to price pressures in China